let's talk about the new spiral abyss. So a couple days ago, Mihoyo dropped a new spiral abyss on us. 9 and 10 remain the same. Floors 11 and 12 are new. Okay, so if you couldn't do floor 9 and 10 before, you can't do it now. Nothing's changed. Okay, so before this video even begins, I just want to say that this is like a free-to-play player's perspective, and I can recommend as the characters that you will need to build to beat the spiral abyss. Floor 9 and 10, it's the same as last time. You just need a couple like pyro characters and you'll be fine. I'm pretty sure in the end game people don't have problems with these floors. I mean, we had it last time and you should be able to beat it by now. Floor 11, it's pretty easy. If you could beat the previous floor 11, this is a little bit easier in my opinion. At least chamber 1 and chamber 2. Chamber 3, we'll get into it later. It's the hardest chamber of the entire spiral abyss by far, in my opinion. Floor 12, chamber 1, it's about the same as the previous spiral abyss. Chamber 2 is pretty tricky. I'd say it's the equivalent of the current floor 11 chamber 3, as in it's pretty hard. There's floor 11 chamber 3, that's okay. Everything's just a bit high leveled, so it has a ton of HP, so it just takes a while to kill. But other than that, it's not even that hard. Okay, so going into this video, I'm going to be going into each floor, each chamber and each part for floors 11 and floor 12. So if you want an in-depth analysis of each chamber for each floor, stick around. Okay, so character recommendations to build up for this spiral. Either Sucrose or Venti. You need someone to group the stuff up and kill. This will be helpful for both floors 11 and floor 12, for protecting the monolith, and for floor 12 chamber 2 part 1, where you just have to kill all the treasure hoarders. And I would recommend having 2 or 3 cryo. Mainly for floor 11 chamber 3, the Abyss Herald, I think you definitely need 2 cryo characters to beat them. 1 is just not enough. For floor 12, I recommend taking a team in for each chamber. Chamber 1, you can just take a new team in for each chamber if you have to. It is the highest floor in the spiral abyss. It's supposed to be hard, so if you need to, do it. Now, for floor 11 and 12, if we look at 11.1, it's the protect the monolith. So if you could do 11.2 from the last spiral, this is way easier than 11.2 from before. This is like 11.2 light. So this should be pretty easy. There's just some treasure hoarders on part 1 and part 2. It's pretty easy. On my first try, I 3-starred it and I didn't even know the enemy patterns yet, so I'm sure you guys can at least, get a star or 2 here. And I should mention that this is like the new spiral abyss from a free-to-play player's perspective. I'm not a huge whale like Tectone and the like, so I'm more or less on the average Genshin player strength. 11.2, the current 11.2, it's just a bunch of F2Ps. And if I remember right from the previous spiral abyss, 11.3 was also F2E. I believe it was 11.3 part 1. You had to beat like, there was an electro hammer and like the healer for 2E, and then when you beat those, there was like 2 electro hammers and like an animal boxer. So this is basically the same thing. It's about the equal strength, except here on 11.2, both sides, part 1 and part 2, I would have for 2E now. So if you could do it before, you should be able to do it now. I will say though that this 11-2 is a lot easier than the previous 11-2. Okay. Now we come to 11-3. The first half isn't too bad, it's just like the Electra and the Cryo Assistant Mage. I've seen that some people are having trouble with this, I don't know why. I have D-Luke, like I run D-Luke, so the Cryo one isn't that much of a problem for me. 11-3 part 1 isn't that hard, I feel like that's the easiest part. Oh boy. Floor 11 Chamber 3 part 2. This is just a clusterfuck. This is the worst floor, the worst chamber, the worst part of the entire Spiral Abyss for now. Those Abyss Heralds are insane. If you don't have like 3 or 4, maybe 3 cryo like people built up, I don't know how you're gonna do this. There is one exception though, which I'll get into later. But yeah, you need like a ton of cryo for that. While we're here and we're talking about the Abyss Heralds, cryo is the element to counter them. Think of the Abyss Heralds as Abyss Mages of the corresponding element. So to break the Hydro Abyss Mage shields, you'd use cryo. So here you'd use cryo as well. But with the Leyline Disorder, your E and your Q cooldowns go way up. So someone like Kaya isn't even good enough to get rid of their shields, at least not in time. So ideally, you'd want to have a cryo catalyst user to just constantly hit cryo. But that doesn't exist. I think if I could give you one tip for the Abyss Heralds, at about 30% HP they put on their Hydro Shields. So maybe take just 1 to 30% and focus on taking its shield out and then going to the next Abyss Herald. That might work. And you might have to build a double cryo, like put together a double cryo team to take them down. You might want to use like Bennett to cleanse the Hydro off you, so your cooldowns like are normal. But even then, when I tried using Bennett personally, like I couldn't stay within his field without just like dying from their damage. So I don't think cleansing is gonna work. But yeah, if you have Ganyu, you're fine. Rosaria, maybe. I think Kaya, no. Chongyun, I don't know. Diona, I used Diona and it like worked. I have a sacrificial Borna, so that helped when it did trigger, if it triggered. Floor 12, Chamber 1. It's not too bad, it's pretty much the same as last time. It might be a bit easier since it's just like one Geo Bishop that's like jumping on you and disrupting you. The Whopper Flower just kind of chill back and attack you a bit. Just make sure that the Whopper Flowers don't, you know, like when they have their shield up and if you just leave them alone then they like attack a lot afterwards. Yeah, just counter that. Like use the right element to break the shield and then they like go dizzy for like quite a bit. Then you can focus on the Geo Bishop. But yeah, this one isn't too bad. You just need like enough damage to kill everything. This is like the easiest floor, I want to say, for floor 12, definitely. Floor 12, Chamber 2, part 1. This one is pretty easy. It's just kill everything and bam, it's super easy. I used Venti here. Just group everything up and attack it all. Floor 12, Chamber 2 is pretty easy. Everyone should like, the guys that make it here, you all should be fine. If you're having trouble with it, I'd say just use like a pyro character to like get rid of their electro aura by overloading them. And yeah, then you could just kill everything. The only thing you'd have to watch out is for the Sissons. They actually do quite a bit of damage and they attack relatively fast. The treasure hoarders, meh, they're whatever. One blinds you, another throws bottles at you. Pretty simple. On the second wave though, there's, I believe, a combo where they can freeze you. Or maybe I was using like a hydro character and then they just froze me, I think. But yeah, just be careful that you don't get like frozen. But other than that, it should be relatively easy. I recommend that you just use Venti or Sucrose, gather them all up and kill them. Ooh, Floor 12 Chamber 2 Part 2. This was not a fun floor for me. I really hated it. Oh, I think it took me over 10 or 12 tries. On my second trial, I cleared it, but I lost like 2 characters. So I didn't even go into floor 12, chamber 3. There was like just no point. The hydro clones, or the hydro mimics, they are quite annoying and they do quite a bit of damage. I really couldn't handle it. I think the main thing is the hydro abyss mage that has the hydro aura on him. He spawns these bubbles that like trap you. I think if you get hit by them, your character is pretty much dead since all of the hydro clones will come on you. So I think definitely avoid going into the bubbles. Yeah, big brain, avoid the bubbles, obvious. I used Ganyu here and I made sure I had a ult charged up from floor 12 chamber 1 going into floor 12 chamber 2. I ran back and ulted. So everything came towards me and they got frozen by Ganyu's ult. So then I just charged attack or aim shot with Ganyu and everything just stayed frozen, and I made sure to go for the squirrels and the abyss mage first. I left the boars for I left the boars alive for the end, because if you just deal damage and then switch targets, they heal themselves. So there's no point attacking them first. So leave the boss for last on the first wave. For this part, you definitely need a cryo character that can keep them frozen. Zhongli might work if his shield is strong enough, but I don't know if it is, since I haven't leveled up my Zhongli yet. I just got him a couple days ago. As for the second wave is much easier than the first wave, I'll say that. The cranes are basically not there since they don't come into you and disrupt you. They just attack you from afar. So if you keep the side of your eye locked onto them, and when they attack you from afar and just dodge it, you should be fine. And then I believe it's just the crabs that attack you and the pyro abyss mage. And there might be something else, but I probably killed it. I can't remember. So yeah, just focus on killing the crabs. Make sure you do not carry a hydro character here just for the abyss mage. Just use your cryo character to get rid of the pyro abyss mage shield. That should be enough, because your hydro character that you bring in is going to be useless for every other mob on this chamber. So yeah, just carry double cryo here if you need to. Okay, floor 12 chamber 3. Honestly, part 1, the abyss lectors, huge disappointment. They were very easy to beat. I beat them on my first try. If you could beat the abyss herald from floor 11, you'll be golden here. This is so easy. 2 of them spawn side by side at the same time when you start it, and I just focused one down. When it brought up its shield, I just made sure to kill its shield, and I left the other one, and eventually I just killed the shield and the abyss lector just died. Then I focused on the other one and did the same thing. Since it's electro, it's actually a lot easier to get rid of its shield. You can use literally any element, just not electro. I had hydro, anemo, pyro and cryo, and they were all doing about the same damage to the shield. When they get their shield though, their damage goes way up. Like, just be careful of that. And the attack that it does from above, when it casts its attack that like hits the ground, you don't need to use stamina to get out of it. You can just keep walking in one direction to save some stamina. So if you use my strat where you just attack one and ignore the other, you'll have one that does minimal damage, the one that's at full HP, and the one that's doing quite a bit of damage with low HP and its shield up. Just avoid the attacks and kill the one with low HP. Pretty simple. Then rinse and repeat this with the second one. Floor 12, Chamber 3, Part 2. I believe we had a similar floor, a similar chamber like this in the previous Spiral Abyss. Yes, it was actually from the previous floor. Floor 11, Chamber 3, Part 1. If you could do that and without any trouble, you should be fine here. I would recommend that you just leave the Cryo Citizen Mage for the end, since it can be the most annoying for some. You can take either the Agent or the Electro Mage out first. Any order works. I would recommend the Pyro Agent first, since he goes invisible and you might lose track of him. Especially if you don't play with audio, you don't know when he's attacking. Congrats, you just beat Pyro. If you liked this video or found it helpful, useful, whatever, like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to reach out to me, just follow me on Twitter and drop a DM later.